in our country and corporations with advantages to send jobs overseas. With that, we'll welcome Michael Smith to the podium. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Leader. My name is Michael Smith, and I am here to tell you why we believe that the tax bill is a job killer. Up until March of 2016, I was employed at the Nabisco Bakery in Chicago. I had worked there nearly 5 years, and I am unemployed today because Nabisco Mondelez sent my job and the jobs of over 500 others at the bakery to Mexico. It happened because our trade and tax laws make it easy and profitable for companies to outsource our jobs. During the last year's election, I heard a lot of politicians say it was time to change the rules and bring jobs home. But now I see this tax bill, and here's what it says. It says that from now on, Mondelez, a U.S. company, will pay no taxes in the United States on its profits from its Mexican plant, where my job went. But it will pay taxes on the profits from its plants here in the U.S., at about 20%. What we do think will happen, what do you think will happen to my brothers and sisters who still work in the U.S. under these rules? Literally, this tax bill wants to pay companies like Mondelez to move jobs like mine out of the United States. We cannot believe this. So let me say to the people who wrote this bill, you must think that I am more than a chance to just make some more money. And so it is. So is the same understanding of my coworkers back in Chicago and around this country, whose life will be destroyed if this bill passes and corporations move more jobs to profit offshore in pursuit of the tax breaks in this bill for offshorers. Once again, my name is Michael Smith, and I am more than a statistic. I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and so all the others that were laid off at the plant in Chicago. We pay taxes, and we implore Congress not to reward companies like this one that outsourced my job with billions of dollars in tax breaks. Let me say this one more time. This tax bill is a job killer. Someone said is cut, cut, cut. What it cuts is my job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. As you see, the Republican plan will rob from these children's future by heaping mountains of debt onto the national debt. Why? To give a $1.5 trillion tax break to corporations. And by the way, Captain, when they say that individuals cannot deduct state and local taxes, that doesn't include corporations. They can still deduct permanently, and at the same time, a tax advantage to create jobs overseas at the expense of doing it in our country. Clearly an advantage in the tax code. Why? They have to answer that. With that, we're pleased to take any questions you have. I'd like to focus on this subject first. Any questions? You have a tremendous resource here, a ranking member on the Ways and Means Committee who knows the most about this subject and its impact on people's personal lives.
Mr. Neal, I was wondering if you could discuss if there's any aspects of the bill that you've learned about that you don't think that people are catching wind of. Are there small pieces in this big bill, 29-page bill, that really haven't come to the light of day that Democrats need to highlight to Congress?
Well, I think part of it is the complications that arise in the housing market. And I think that even if you grasp the immediate number on limiting or shaving back the deduction, it also adds layers of complexity to getting people into the housing market eventually, which we all think is a desirable goal. So I think that there are many parts of the tax code. They are advertised as numbers when there are also social impacts that occur because of it. And I think when you consider, for example, how people might enter that job market I'm sorry, how people might enter that housing market, and then all of a sudden discover after they've had a second or third child that they can't move to a bigger home even if they need it because of the deduction being removed. And I think that in the suburbs around Boston, I think this is going to have a very perilous effect. I also think that the description that I used earlier of trying to fit that size 12 foot into a size 7 shoe makes an awful lot of sense because you're squeezing people in the middle class while simultaneously advertising this as middle class tax relief. That's the disguise. That's the ruse that's being undertaken. And they're prepared, for example, to make the corporate cut permanent and make phase-outs to the other items that they're proposing. So this, if I could take you here for a moment, but I think this is really important in terms of their projections on growth. What if that doesn't happen? Which did not happen in 2001 and 2003, despite the fact that there were $2.3 trillion worth of tax cuts and very slow growth. What happened was very simple. The deficits went through the roof. That's what happens. So there's slow growth, and all of a sudden the deficits go up, and somebody's got to pay it. So you might not see the consequence of it in 2001, but you certainly see the consequence of it in 2007. We're in the midst of a recession, losing 800,000 jobs a month. So these are long-term impacts that take place, and there's a considerable number of social issues that arise afterwards. And if these cuts went into effect as advertised, and then we run up against budget deficits down the road, they're going to Medicare and Social Security for cuts.
Any other questions? Well, first I want to finish on this then. I want to thank our guest. This is a moment of truth for our country because the decisions that are made about the budget affected by the tax code have a direct impact on the growth of our economy and the well-being of America's working families. Our distinguished ranking member, Mr. Neal, talked about home ownership. It's very important, the sense of community, people putting down roots. It's very important. And to undermine that, I've already had people on this floor of this house say to me, I'm going to have to sell my house without the deduction. That is a really important part of it. And what the possible appreciation, it isn't indexed, right? So it only gets worse for people. So again, a moment of truth. What does this mean when they say that this is for the middle class? It's not. It's like saying to the middle class, heads I win, tails you lose. Because they give with one hand just a little bit and they take a great deal away. As you heard from our guest, whether it's the extraordinary medical expenses deduction, whether it's the deduction for interest on student loans, whether it's what happens in terms of, listen to this. This just really is stunning. Student education, central to everything we do. And by the way, nothing brings more money to the Treasury and reduces the deficit and increases our growth than investing in education. So to cut education is really dumb. With stiff competition, one of the dumbest moves the Republicans are making in this bill. So they're impacting people in their ability to pay their student loans. They're taking billions of dollars out of our investment in education in our country. And then just to see the meanness of it all, if you're a teacher and you bring supplies to school because your school isn't able to supply everything in the classroom, you no longer can deduct that. Why? So they can give the president's cabinet a tax deduction or eliminate the estate tax and many other tax advantages. There's a cruelty to it. Again, veterans are affected very directly. Families are affected very directly. Home ownership is directed very. How local communities meet the needs of the American people are affected very directly. What are they thinking? This is a moment of truth. And we have to make sure, as your question indicated, what is it in this bill that people should know more about? Well, one thing they're finding out more is that whatever was said during the campaign by whomever about keeping jobs in the U.S., this bill does the exact opposite. And we want to be sure that people are aware of that. So again, a moment of truth. To our colleagues, get real. Don't tell the middle class this is for them. You've set a banquet for the wealthy and corporate America, and you're throwing a few crumbs. It's really making suckers of the American people. And we have to speak in some bold language about this because the misrepresentations are so outrageous. And so I thank our guests who more eloquently than anything we could say, speaking from their own experience to the unfairness of this legislation. It is more eloquent to the American people. So I thank you. I thank Susan Flashman, Captain Nemec, Kendrick Tappan, Barbara Altman, Michael Smith, and our very special guest, Shiloh Shavia, and their friend Danny. Let's hear it for the future. For the future. And that's what this is supposed to be, about the future. Thank you all so much. And I thank our distinguished ranking member for his great leadership, and the Democrats on the committee, too, for the knowledge and wisdom that they bring to all of this. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Briefly, do you believe what Donna Brazil was saying this week?
You know what? You haven't heard me relitigate last year's election. I wasn't involved in the presidential. I'm only looking forward. This is about the future. I haven't had time to be reading any of that anyway, but nonetheless, what I've seen on the little tape going across the screen. Let's focus on what's really important to our country.
Leader, and even though you weren't directly involved.
No, I wasn't.
But that said, you are a big fundraiser for the party.
I am the biggest.
With the financing.
not counting the presidential. I'm not getting, look, I have responsibility for what I have responsibility for. I don't have any interest in what I don't have responsibility for when it comes to other campaigns. I'm heartbroken that we didn't win the White House. There'll be all kinds of books written about what happened. I'm focusing. 1 year ago, that election took place. Can you believe it's a year? In just a couple of days, it'll be a year. And 1 year until the next election. My focus is on the next election. I don't have a spare second to be thinking about comments that went on within the DNC. Any other questions? Yes, sir, and then I'll come back.
So that the misrepresentations are outrageous on this bill. What are you saying that Speaker Ryan and other leaders are lying about?
I say they're taking American people for suckers. They're trying to pass this off as a middle-class tax cut when they know it is not. Why? Why would you cut the deduction on interest on student loans? Why would you say to teachers, you have to take it out of your own pocket to bring supplies to school and you don't get a tax deduction on it? But we're going to give corporate America a tax deduction to ship jobs overseas. I'm saying, I'm not using the word lie. I don't use the word lie. I'm saying that they are misrepresenting what this bill is, and we will make sure the American people know what the impact it is on them. I'm saying this is a moment of truth. The figures, the bill will speak for itself. We'll make sure that the American people know what is in that bill, and we'll be very graphic.
Can I just comment on that, Leader? When you look at the Wharton study or the study, Center for Tax Policy or Goldman Sachs study, none of them say that you're going to get 3% growth. They all say that given demographic trends, you're lucky if you get to 2.2%. Here's where I think that when I talked about speculation, about what might happen, here's, in the debate we recently had over the border adjustment tax, the people that you've just described, they said it was going to work because the dollar was going to appreciate by 25% over 5 years. I mean, that's a heck of a way to do policy, to say that the dollar is going to appreciate and that's going to justify what they want to do. It's the same thing when you take a $1.5 trillion, borrow the money over 10 years, which is closer to 2.4. And what if there's no economic growth here? And that bill comes through. Who's going to pay for that?
Let me also just say this. Don't take my word for it. Mr. Neal had a hearing. Republicans didn't come, of course, but a hearing about the truth in what is in this bill. And a gentleman, Bruce Bartlett, who had been part of Jack Kemp's supply-side economics agenda, proudly so, he said to us, this whole idea that this trickle-down economics pays for itself is not true, nonsense, and he went in to use a term, BS, except he said the words. There are other economists who espouse trickle-down economics or who consider it on the conservative side of the ledger, who will tell you the same thing. The facts do not support what they are saying. And for them to try to sell a bill of goods to the American people that this meager give with one hand, take with the other, and let us give $1.5 trillion in tax cuts to corporate America, in addition to tax advantages to ship jobs overseas, and let them deduct their state and local, and with all of the money that sucks out of the system, sucks up from the middle class into the wealthy and the wealthy corporations, is going to pay for itself? Please, please. When we had the majority of the rest, we had pay as you go. Here's what they have. The middle class pays as the wealthy and the corporations go, and go with jobs overseas. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Madam Leader.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Nicely done, Captain. Nicely done.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us here in the digital newsroom. I'm here with Risa, Molly, and Risa inside. Hey, Jason. Hey, Chicago.
What up, Chicago?
Unity.
Chi-Town.
Anybody who's on with us, welcome. We just started the show out with this press conference from Nancy Pelosi on tax reform from the Hill, but I want to keep it kind of varied today and talk about everything. And in fact, we're still coming down from the emotion and the excitement from this morning because we had some amazing entertainment guests on our morning show this morning.
Empowering women.
Empowering
Super
guests
empowering.
and entertaining. And they're going to be, actually, Risa, you know more about this. So tell us about what is happening this weekend and who was here.
So, guys, we fanned out a little bit because we had Maya in studio.
Singer
we had
Maya.
Anne Marie, the Lil Mo, all DC locals, and Poe, who we just actually met from WPGC, who was amazing.
95.5 radio in the area.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going on is there's this huge, what's the event called? I just posted it on Instagram.
You have
Let me pull it up, guys. I think we're just still like a little shook from
I know,
these amazing artists.
And yeah, and again, as we try to put together the show, it's sort of like whatever comes along on our sources, on our stream, that's interesting. And then we're doing social media and stuff in the morning, so we're kind of tracking what the morning show is covering and whatnot. But now we're into the afternoon, and we're going to be looking for what's coming up live. So let's just recap our social from the morning.
Yeah, so the event is called Four Sisters Only event, and it's the 18th annual event that WPGC is hosting again. So it's like an annual thing that they do. It's basically a grab your girlfriends and come on down. I think it's at the Walter.
It's at the convention center in
it's at the
downtown
convention
DC, like right in the middle of DC.
Yeah, right in the middle of it.
Whatever that is. I know the street, 11th or so.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of food. There's going to be live performances by these amazing artists that came in studio today. And it's just a day to celebrate with your girls. And I think they're going to be talking about important topics that are that women that are important to women, excuse me. So yeah, it's going to be an awesome event where basically you have all these empowering women, and you're going to be amongst your girlfriends and just engaging with one another, which I find awesome.
I can't remember, was it ticketed? I can't remember what the stats were.
It is ticketed, so I think tickets today are on sale for $15,
so
which
it's
is
easy,
super inexpensive to see these amazing, well-known names, and I think $20 at the door. So if you guys are interested, if you guys are local,
it's tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know who's local. A lot of people from everywhere really catch on this stream, but we'll, some people from the DMV. And if not, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. It's like, it's going to be a warm weekend in DC, they were saying. So
awesome.
the last little bit of sort of the heat in November.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great event, though. There's also that really cool Air and Space Museum event going on tomorrow.
What is going on? I think
Brightest Young Things was talking about it. That they're a popular blog in the area. They're running it. It's an event. It's sort of a party at the National Air and Space, which is super cool. It's going to be like space themed. stuff and
Is
like.
it because they due to the
trivia.
renovations, right?
I don't know if is it due to it?
Is it?
So
No,
they
I'm
just
not so
came
sure.
out with the fact that they're undergoing these big time renovations over the next X amount of years, and I don't remember if they're throwing this because of that or I don't know. But
They're
that's
just
happening
really
Saturday.
good at doing like awesome events in the city. I feel like every weekend. So this one is probably going to be awesome. One of
yeah.
our web producers is actually going
yeah,
too.
I wish you would come over and talk about it.
It's a little busy right now.
You might not.
Yeah.
I'm also emceeing actually a La Dia de los Muertos
Oh,
event.
excuse
So there's a
me,
lot
Molly.
of the Day of the Dead type of events tomorrow because that is I think traditionally either it's that Saturday after Halloween or it is early November. I can't remember. It's like All Saints Day, and so a celebration with women. Actually, speaking of women small businesses. It's
awesome.
going to be in Noma. Yeah, so I'm just doing that for the afternoon.
What's the name of
kind
the
of a cool event. It is. They're calling it La Dia de los Muertos and then hosted by David Rosa Events. It's an event company that I'm working with, and they're going to be promoting out these women's businesses.
Oh, that's awesome. See, more empowering women. I love this.
Yeah, we're painting our faces, like the whole thing that everyone
nice.
does. So promoting out women in business,
can't wait to see
having
pictures.
a party. Yeah, I'll take some pics. I'm going to get my face done and then MC it, which is fun.
Like, forget a filter. She's a filter,
Oh
guys.
gosh. And that's Saturday. So my Saturday will be pretty busy, but I guess what else did we get to cover this morning? So we had the ladies on.
Yeah, we had the ladies on, and honestly, I think that was like the super big highlight of the day.
Nerds.
Oh, you're eating nerds.
So
super
much
classic
sugar.
90s. Guys. Throwback
There is
Thursday.
so much sugar. Yes.
Oh my God, I think I want one now. What did I say, Throwback Thursday?
There's so much candy everywhere, right? You can't not grab candy in this office.
Strawberry flavor. Love
Yeah.
it. It's all because of Halloween, too. I feel like people are bringing because they want to be good at home. Because Thanksgiving is around the corner.
I don't know if you guys are. Another little piece of news. I don't know if you heard about this. If you're from DC, you would know this, but DCist, which is part of like Gothamist, sort of small localized journalism, online journalism, shut down yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was kind of big news in the local journalism world, and
Why exactly? Do we know?
they wrote the CEO wrote a letter about it, saying that at the end of the day, the business needed to be economically successful to keep going, and it wasn't really making that progress. And a lot of small journalists and journalists who kind of started on that web platform, which I understand because I've been following it forever. I know Jim Lokay in here and some other anchors and people that we have in here are fans of that sort of that web kind of string of Gothamist / DCist is the local one web journalism, and so in the end they thanked their readers for the loyalty over the years and their support, but in the end they the numbers I think inspired them to make it cut down, which is it's a bummer. So I remember moving to DC and using that as one of like the early blogs, I guess you could say, of what was going on, what was the hot new topics. And now there's so many that we read, right?
Gosh, there's so many, and maybe that
We
do
check
you
them
think
every
that
day.
contributed to it?
Maybe.
The amount of different ones coming
It's
out, being a little more
funny.
youthful.
He knows. I mean, the CEO said in this very well, specifically crafted letter that they know they wanted to reach certain people, and they know some stories aren't told, and this site, did that. But at the end of the day, a business is a business, and that it comes down to that is the worst. Like it's just, it's sad for them.
What happens to the people? So
I don't know. I think he thanks the employees, and he thanked a lot of people, and then he sort of ends it. Saying that hopefully someone can crack the code on a business that can support exceptional neighborhood storytelling. So their whole thing was small localized journalism and telling those stories because it's essential. So acknowledging that it's important, but I don't know what happens. I think it was a small staff, and I almost want to say they were very either minimally paid or it was like a side gig for a lot of people. But
I
even
just hope
then,
they're not like thoroughly impacted.
right?
But even then, you don't know.
It's small, and it's I wonder sort of where some of those people go, or what they had to say goodbye to it. And so anyway, just a small kind of journalism piece of news.
When did they come up again? 2009?
When did they start? I think he says it in the thing. Yeah, in 2009. Isn't that funny? And I moved to DC in 2008. And I thought I followed it from the beginning, but I guess I followed it the next year. I probably started reading it right away. It's amazing. But yeah, Jim tweeted about it. So anyway, interesting, kind of small town journalism stuff. What else did we got going on Insta? We did some stories with the ladies.
And I think most of our time was invested in curating some Instagram live stories for that today. And we just got to chatting. Once again, guys, sometimes when we have artists come in, you just never know how their persona is going to be, whether we're going to be like, oh my gosh, can I grab a picture? or if they'll like thoroughly engage with you. And let me just say, all the ladies that came through today were so sweet and embracing and super humble. And I love that when you meet these people that, you know, you've been fans for, you know, quite some time, and they're super welcoming and makes you love them more. So
oh yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
it was fun.
Yeah,
a really fun morning.
Yeah.
So happy Friday, guys.
Friday.
November 3rd, early November, going into the weekend. We're excited.
Who's watching Thor?
Oh, yeah, you're excited for that. This weekend, tomorrow?
It's tomorrow, yeah.
So
I'm going tomorrow. I think it came out Thursday, but you know, officially, like everybody's like feel like going today. But I'm going tomorrow, guys. So I mean, if you guys are going, if you guys already watched, comment. I want to see.
Yeah, let us know.
Because our Kevin said that it wasn't really his favorite.
Oh, he
did. It was okay. But he's like, I think like I'm the only person in the world who probably isn't all about it. Like, it was an okay movie. So I'm like, oh my gosh, now on the fence. Am I gonna like it? Am I gonna fall asleep? What is going to go on?
So fun. Yeah. That's a good weekend. Yeah, I got my event, and then
get your cool event coming.
We'll see what the weather's like, and have a nice day Sunday, and then we're back in the office. So we'll be back on Mondays as usual.
Absolutely.
Looks like I have a cool presser going on with the Astros, the Houston Astros, the World Series champs.
Okay.
And they just popped up, so I want to kind of grab that and see what the coaches have to say. But probably one of the official, I guess, post-win pressers to jump to. So we'll go down to Houston now. This is live in Houston.
You know, this championship is for you. This is, and it goes back, and again, I'll just keep rambling on. It goes back to like the Jeff Bagwells and Lance Berkman and Craig Biggio and Enos Cabell, you know, tearing up at the thought of us being world champions. And I think that's what starts to resonate with players, is how many people in their own story that represented them and supported them, and then obviously Astro alumni that are literally celebrating with us, you know, from around the world.
And on that note, you, my friend, represent Mexico in a sense. Después de que llegas y tuviste esas temporadas de 100 derrotas consecutivas, hubo un momento, o sea, ese es tu momento cúspide, un momento que se comía ese esfuerzo, pero hubo un momento en que, como ser humano, dudaste de esta situación. For my English-speaking guys, in this tenure that he's been here, for the losing seasons, 100+ losing seasons, there was there any moment where you doubted your project, doubted yourself that this was going to work?
In English, no. I didn't doubt that we were going to turn this organization into a winning organization. Now, you can never guarantee yourself a championship. We played 3 historic, excellent teams, and we were fortunate to come out on top. It could have gone the other way. But when you put your organization in a spot where you can have a shot at it a couple years in a row, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, you got a good chance to do it, and that's all you can really hope for. Nunca dudé que íbamos a tener un equipo capaz de ganar un campeonato, pero mucho tiene que ocurrir durante esos campeonatos, durante esas competiciones para llegar a este punto. Tuvimos suerte, tuvimos energía, tenemos peloteros excelentes, pero los otros equipos también los tienen. Pero el plan de nosotros siempre fue a construir un equipo capaz de llegar a este punto y tomar varios chances a un campeonato.
AJ, you guys are savoring the moment, but is it too early to talk about 2018 or how much of the team will be intact?
Yes, it is too early.
After the parade.
I barely slept, let alone thought about 2018.
AJ, if invited, will you take your team to Trump's White House as customary for the pro teams?
Yeah, I knew that question was coming. You know, and I'm not going to go on too long of a comment on this, but we just won the first world championship in Houston Astros history, and we also are in one of the most divided countries, polarizing countries in politics. I don't know that this is the best stage for everybody to declare one way or the other and try to kind of comment on the moment and be, you know, too much of a political statement. I believe in celebrating these championships. I believe that our organization should bask in the glory of what this work has done from years that Jeff has been here through me and in our long history. What comes out of this moving forward on the political side, or what we do or don't do, or what sports has turned into representing the kind of the country's tone, will have to be decided in time. We're not going to allow anything to polarize this moment that we want to celebrate with our fans.
Yeah, can you talk about just quickly, you talked about the physical exhaustion towards the end. What played into it? I mean, there had to be a mental component, and I also think the camaraderie amongst the players. What were those extra pieces that you think pushed you through? at those last games?
We have to remember we started early because of the World Baseball Classic. So these guys have been going for almost 9 months, and it is exhausting even in spring training and then every day during the season. I think one of the things that AJ did a really good job of this year was making sure that our regular players got rest. And we also had a couple of opportunities for our starters to get some rest, not by design because they were injured. But all of that led to guys being healthier and more energetic in September. I also gave a shout out to our medical staff. They were critical of it. I mean, critical component of it. But I also think that when you have a chance to win, you do what you have to do. And these guys wanted to pick each other up. It was a team effort out there. Every member of that roster helped us get to this point, and that was a big part of it. They wanted to help each other out, and they all saw the goal.
Jeff, can you just talk about the fact that the players bought in, the fans bought into the approach, because it started and it was rocky and it was a long road. Just, have you thought about yet, like, okay, it worked, you had a plan, you obviously thought it would work, but actually getting here and that you had the time to build it the way you guys wanted to?
Well, not everybody bought in. We had to really convince people, and early in this process, as some of you in this room know, Jim and I met with season ticket holders to explain that we were going to be transparent, we were going to be honest with them, it was going to take some time, there was going to be some rough patches ahead, and of course there were. But I got to give our ownership a ton of credit, Jim Crane a ton of credit. He stuck with the plan, he trusted the people in baseball operations, he did a lot to support us. He said when the time came he would support us with resources. We did that. We had a great offseason last year. We went out and signed a bunch of free agents and made some trades, and then we had obviously a big acquisition this year by bringing in Justin Verlander. So ownership did a great job of supporting us. Our baseball operations staff, they don't get talked about enough, that we've got a tremendous group of executives and scouts and field staff helping our players develop. Correa was a great pick in the draft, so was Bregman. That's credit to our scouts. But they weren't ready for the big leagues when they got to our organization. We had a lot of coaches, a lot of people along the way that helped them be ready. And one of the things that our organization does well is when we promote players, when we promoted Springer, Correa, Bregman, McCullers, Musgrove, Davinsky, they're ready to compete at this level. Back in 2012, 2013, we were promoting a lot of players just to see if they were ready. We didn't know the answer, but as we became more comfortable with our staff and our process, we got lucky on a lot of these players because they were ready, but you put yourself in a position to be lucky by having good people in your organization.
Jeff and AJ, this time last year in 16, you guys didn't make the playoffs. I remember you sitting here and there was some frustration and hey, this is not good enough because you had the really good run of 15. How important do you think that feeling was to push you over the top, whether it was going after Beltran or Reddick, fixing some of your, filling some of your holes and really getting this organization to the next step?
Well, I only know it from the time that I came in 2015, but I want to share with you a story about Altuve. When I first sat with him in my office, we talked a lot about getting better. We talked a lot about the 100-loss season. We talked a lot about just the grind that had taken its toll. And I asked him one question. I said, why don't we talk about winning? And once we started talking about winning, I think from an organizational standpoint, it raised the bar. Then we won. And that made that 2016 feeling you're talking about horrible because we had a winning season, nearly the same amount of wins that we had in 15, but we didn't get to celebrate. Going to 2017 with a new team and new goals, we had this little burn in us at the beginning of the season that never stopped, and to accomplish that goal raises the bar even higher. Like, we're going to talk about winning a lot now, and obviously as we get into the next season, and we'll have another session to talk about it. We're going to have to handle success equally as well, if not better, than we handled the failure when we first got into this. That for me is one of the most exciting challenges. But getting to this point. Raising the bar in this organization, having it be a winning organization, not just on a win total, but on an accomplishment total, is pretty remarkable.
AJ, on a personal level for you, you're with these guys, 9 months of the season, just to see them celebrating, just to sit back. I don't know if you took a moment just to kind of see what was going on, but to see these guys have so much fun out there with a trophy, what was that like?
That's the best feeling. It's the best feeling in the world as a coach. I mean, you know, the only thing I can relate it to is being a parent. You know, when you see that your kids have success, and I'm not old enough to be these guys' dads, but I am proud enough to act like it. And to watch our guys, I mean, these are the biggest smiles, the best celebrations, the best hugs you can possibly imagine on a baseball field. It's thrilling. I mean, there's nothing like it to watch. You know, George Springer go from you know, having to talk about strikeouts in 2015 to getting moved in the order to the leadoff spot to being told at the World Series, you're not doing good enough after the first game. He struck out 4 times against Clayton Kershaw to win in the World Series MVP. I mean, there's a lot of emotion that goes involved in that when you're in charge of leading them on the field. That's just one story of many. But the moment that these guys run in that dog pile in the middle of the field, that first champagne that comes on after we get into the clubhouse is hard to describe because it's hard to get that feeling. It's hard to find the team that really resonates with that feeling. So I loved every second of it, and I want to do it again.
I also have to say I never knew our relievers could run so fast. They sprinted.
I mean, look, at the end of that game, think about this picture. We have a TV in the clubhouse. I mean, it's clubhouse in the dugout that's really big, and it shows their bullpen and our bullpen, and so nobody can really do anything when somebody's warming up. If I want to get a pinch hitter ready, et cetera, we can pay attention to our reliever. I have Dallas Keuchel and Justin Verlander warming up in Game 7 of the World Series, both as relievers. Both may be coming in for 1 out apiece to win the World Series. And I'm looking out at Charlie Morton, who the front office was steadfast that he was going to be a difference maker on our team coming off an injury-riddled season, pitching, you know, his heart out. I'll never get that picture again because that never happens. The two top pitchers on our team warming up just in case, you know, another one of our pitchers needs some help in the 9th inning of the 7th game of the World Series. I'll forever remember that picture and that feeling as part of this process.
When in Game 7 did you knew that you had this, sir?
After the last out, I mean, honestly, in this series, all bets were off in this series. There was no celebrating, no. I mean, there were some smiles and some anticipation, but until that last out's made in the World Series, the game's never over. I think this series proved it time and time again that no team was going to concede the game, no team was going to concede the season. But once that last out was made, I knew we did it.
Someone who follows your line of preparation for the team said it proves that the logical thought wins out. Was this strictly a victory for logic, or is there something more involved?
You know, I mean, it was a victory for what I consider what we do best, which is blend progressiveness and traditional values. You know, and again, we get credit for being the most progressive organization in baseball, and rightfully so. We do as good a job behind the scenes at providing advanced information and progressive thinking. And then we also, I think we do a pretty good job of understanding that you have to let the players decide it on the field. And when guys like Brad Peacock, who, by the way, are analytically supported as being a little bit of a difference maker, and he goes out and prove it, then why not give him the ball? That's my job, is to kind of read what I see with what I've learned and what I know. So I think it's a win for the blend that we've been able to create in this organization, you know, at least in 2017, better than anyone. And I hope it's going to be a challenge for us. I hope we answer the challenge of how we continue to stay one step ahead of the competition.
What kind of advice did you give Yuli to concentrate and focus despite crowd reaction? There was that tip of the cap.
Yeah, you know, Yuli's very mature. I mean, we called him rookie all year because he was the oldest rookie, I think, in the league, and being a first-year guy. But I think a lot of credit goes to 2 important guys that were by his side. One was Alex Cora, 2 was Carlos Beltran. And I think he owned the moment the best he could. It was vicious in LA, this loudest, longest boos and things being yelled at him. And he just stayed steadfast in his preparation and his game plan. His advice was just to pay respects to the issue at hand, but do his best to block that out and do what athletes do, which is compartmentalize and compete and play and eventually pay the punishment. And he understands.
Hey, does Yuli still have the baseball?
I have no idea. I didn't see Yuli after the whole game. I didn't see half our players. What's that?
He got it after the Boston series, I think. The last baseball, the last out.
Did he? Well, first baseman. Yeah. Got a good chance at it.
Hey, Jeff, with Alonzo Powell going to the Giants, what other
What changes do you anticipate on your coaching staff at this point?
We're just celebrating the World Series here today. We're going to have a parade, and we've got a lot of work to do after this. When you're in the World Series you play an extra month, and a lot of teams get a head start on you. I do have a couple of housekeeping announcements. One is we're going to pick up the option on Altuve. We're going to pick up the option on Marwin Gonzalez. And we have agreed to terms and hired Josue Espada to be our bench coach. Those are 3 great events for our organization. Beyond that, I can't comment on anything. I'll have more announcements probably next week.
Hey, Jeff, you guys aren't Houstonians, and I don't know if you caught Reed Ryan's interview on MLB Network after the game. You guys were on the field and stuff, but he broke down in tears again, being emotional, just describing what it meant to the city. Is there an anecdote, or have you heard from a fan or something that you can share with us that really has, put it into a real feeling of what it means to the city? Or
well, I think that picture that we've seen of those fans in their house that obviously was devastated, and they're sitting there watching the final out of the World Series. They obviously have 6 to 12 months of work to do ahead in their home. I mean, that speaks volumes. I think that picture is representative of and AJ and I may not be Houstonians, but I've lived here now for 6 years. Texas was my home state when I grew up in Mexico. My first baseball game was at the Astrodome. I am from wherever I am at that time, so I do feel a kinship to the city, and I know AJ does as well. So that's my anecdote. I'm sure I'll have a lot more today from the parade and as the weeks to follow.
AJ, on that note, you think about it, the Yankees 2001 with 9/11, the Saints with Katrina 2005, Boston with the bombing. As a coach, where do you think a player gets that extra stamina to do something remarkable, like winning their series from those type of disasters? Where do they get that?
Yeah, no, I think our team was able to keep in perspective exactly what was going on during that whole time, and a lot of it I think is because we were one of them. We're one of the community. Our families were stuck, safe but stuck, and we were displaced. And I think when we came back, we asked the city. Every year we ask the city and the fan base to rally around the team, and it's okay for a fan base to ask a team to rally around them. And I think I saw our players step up and keep it in perspective. Obviously, gather some sort of energy, some extra motivation. We wore a patch, nothing better than Springer patting his chest when he hit the home run after we come back from for the hurricane. Somehow, some way that connects communities. And you can't always plan for it. It's not artificial. It's something that has to happen organically. And when it does, it's pretty powerful, as seen by the stretch run in September, October, and then November 1st.
Can you discuss Joe Espada and what you bring?
Yeah, real briefly on Joe. We were drafted the same year with the A's in the early 90s or mid 90s, and so I've got a long history with him. I've really respected and appreciated his approach as a coach. Stayed in touch with him through the years, and I've watched him, go from a minor league coach to a coordinator to a major league third base coach, and then change organizations to be the Yankees third base coach the last few years. So he's a tireless worker, will connect well with players, is inching towards being a managerial candidate down the road, and he has all these qualities that we feel like will be a seamless transition to come on this staff, and I'm excited to have him.
Jim, ¿nos puede decir en español los cambios que anticipa para la temporada próxima, por favor?
Pues todavía estamos celebrando el campeonato, entonces el trabajo duro va a empezar la semana que entra. Pero este equipo está bien armado para el futuro. La mayoría del equipo que estaba aquí este año va a regresar el año que entra, que significa que tenemos buen chance de repetir como campeones de la división. Pero claro que vamos a trabajar duro en los próximos meses para construir un roster que es mejor que el que tenemos ahorita.
AJ, when things got a little rough in the second half, maybe in August, and you were fond of saying, I believe in this team, this is a good team, you kept a very stiff upper lip. Was there ever a point when you kind of wavered about this was possible because things had kind of gone off the rails a little bit for the squad?
I never wavered in my belief in them. I wanted to keep us intact. I think one of the things that largely goes unnoticed on a 100-win team is the injuries that we did have. At one point, we had 5 starters on the DL. Correa went through it. Obviously, Keuchel McCullers. Springer, some concussions, with McCann and Reddick. At one point during the year, we had virtually everybody on our team, go through something, and every team does that. But that's what made me nervous is, can we stay healthy enough to sustain the pace that we were on? I always felt like we win the division. You win the division, you get into a long series in the playoffs. And our goal wasn't just to win the division. It wasn't just to win a playoff series. It was to win the World Series. And I think that resolve that it takes to go wire to wire is real. I think you're going to have to fight through some adversity. Our adversity was short-lived, even though the month of August felt like the longest month of all time. Because you're talking about losses, something that we hadn't done. We hadn't really had a losing month largely in a couple of years, maybe one or two in 2016. But it's very gratifying and satisfying for us to persevere, even though a 100-win season seems like it was a joyride. It took a lot to get to that point.
Jeff, Crane joked that it's been 5 or 6 years, but at times it felt like 100, and 12 and 13. In 12 and 13, in your head, what was the earliest you thought it could all happen? I mean, I remember early on you would say, hey, if this happened and this happened, we could kickstart this thing, and it does still seem to be a little ahead of schedule considering how rough it was in 11, 12, and 13.
I do think so. I mean, I always said by 2017 we were going to be in a position where we could win a division and take a shot at a championship. But you got to remember, our first 2 draft picks were 2 high school players. We drafted the youngest player in the draft, a shortstop from Puerto Rico, and then a high school pitcher from Florida. When you're drafting high and you're picking high school players, you're not expecting a return in 3 years. You're expecting a return in 5 or 6 years. And these guys got here quickly. And then we had some good talent in the organization. I got to give a lot of credit to Ed Wade and Tim Purpur and the guys that were here before. Springer was here, Keuchel was here, Altuve was here. There were some good players, and we maximized that, and we kept adding to it. So it really wasn't until George got here in 2014 that I felt, okay, this is all up. This is going up now. George is here. We got Carlos on his way. We got other guys in the system that are coming. And when George got here and immediately succeeded, I thought, okay, we're in good shape.
AJ, can you talk about, we've heard Springer say it and Bregman say it, how it gave him so much confidence that whatever their struggles were, you'd go, like Bregman said, I was like 1 for 30, and he's like, I got you, you're good. How that really helped them feel like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, I've always operated with that belief has to come before performance, and my job is to get the most out of players, and sometimes that means you gotta you gotta beat on them a little bit and reprimand them, or what we think coaching is. We think coaching is yelling. We think coaching is berating. We think coaching is sort of this this physical altercation about, like, get yourself together, and it's not. It's belief. To me, coaching is belief, and you stay true to the guys when you know they're working behind the scenes. You know what they're doing to put themselves in the best position to succeed. My job is to believe in them and to push them in the right direction. And I think for Bregman, for Springer, for Altuve, for Correa, they all need different levels, of coaching. And my job is to find that button to push whenever they need it. And if they're down and they need someone to pick them up, then I need to be the guy to be that. If they're riding a little too high and I gotta keep their keep them working in the same direction. That's my job too. And I'm surrounded by a great coaching staff and support staff that get it. That we're not gonna turn our backs on the players. And this game is about players. It'll always be about players, and it's about maximizing the opportunities that players have.
On that same note, during those nail-biting moments of a couple of those last games, did you do anything? Did you talk to the players? How did you handle those moments where?
I think, and I've got asked that a couple different times, and I think if you do your job as a manager or as a coach, leading up to that point, you don't have to overreact in the moment. And if you don't overreact in the moment, the players won't overreact. So everybody wants this big moment where you give a victory speech or you give a motivational speech. That started in 2015, the day I got the job. You have to create a process that these guys know you're going to be the consistent heartbeat in the room. I will always be the calmest guy in the room. That I mean, there's a little bit going on underneath the scene. Don't confuse the stoic face for lack of nerves. But I will always be the calmest heartbeat for these guys, because that's what I preached when I first got here. It's what I preached in 2016. It's what I preached for 2017, and it'll be what I preach moving forward, because I urge our players to be themselves on the biggest stage. And if I ask that out of them, then I certainly have to be that for them.
One last question. I don't know how strategies works in baseball, but can you credit someone on the way you face Turner? It seems that Turner down, but how you try to minimize Chris Taylor? It was something that you could, because for me it was the critical.
Sure. Well, their roster never stopped of being somebody that we had to address. I mean, the way we handled Bellinger, the way we handled Seager, you know, the way that we hit their bullpen. I mean, the strategy to beat them was to outlast them, and we did through Game 7. But what most people do, they see us on TV, they don't realize how many people behind the scenes are really doing a lot of the legwork on giving us the ideas on how we're going to do that. Whether it's a field scout named Chris Young, who was our advanced scout, whether it's 2 advanced guys that work tirelessly in the front office, Tom Kochweiser and Matt Hogan, Antonio Padilla, names that you guys will never hear. But those of us in the clubhouse and those of us know that we won the World Series because of the actions of a lot of people. And we need to give credit where credit's due. The players apply it. The players put it out on the field. The coaches encourage. The coaches obviously educate. Alex Bregman stealing third base. That wasn't by accident. That was a strategy put in place by advanced scouting to analytics to our coaching staff to a player. And that process won us the World Series. And it's going to be what helps drive us to win the next World Series.
Speaking of next World Series, I know you say planning for next year comes later, but a year ago you had a wish list and Jeff went out and got everything that you needed.
That's how it works.
That's how it works, yeah.
Vegas odds makers have you guys as the odds-on favorite to win it again next year. What's the encore? You know, the parade. Can we plan for the parade next year?
You know, we had a good roll of the dice this year, but the dice were weighted in our favor because we have a really good roster and we have good coaches and a good organization. Fortunately, there are very few times when you win a World Series and almost your entire team is coming back. Yes, we have a few free agents, but the core of our team is coming back. And we could roll out the same roster we have right now, and I think we'd have a good chance to win. Does that mean we're not going to do everything we can to improve the roster? No. Our work starts. I mean, we've been getting after it. There's been a lot of people here at Minute Maid Park working, and we have a plan, and the GM meetings are a week from Monday, and we'll be there, and we'll be active. But we may not make as many transactions this year as we made last year because we've got a lot of guys coming back. But we'll address whatever upgrades we think are out there. And as soon as AJ gives me that list, I'll get to work on it.
You know what? You know, the holidays are close. That Christmas list will come pretty soon.
What areas would you like to improve?
Well, we've got to replace a couple free agents that are going to be leaving us. But, I mean, I think a lot's been talked about our bullpen. I think maybe not performing in the postseason, but these guys did a great job during the season. Davinsky was an all-star. Ken Giles racked up a ton of saves. Peacock was amazing in the bullpen. You know, we're going to have the same issue next year where we have more starters than we have positions in the rotation, and some of those guys are probably going to end up in the bullpen again. We've got a lot of our relievers coming back. We've got guys in the minors that are knocking at the door that are going to be here soon. So we'll figure out a way to piece together a pitching staff that we feel can get us through the regular season and also add to it if necessary to help us in the postseason. But our lineup's going to be pretty solid.
We won the World Series. Let's go celebrate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Gracias.
All right, guys, so hey to some of our regulars on the stream. Thanks for joining us here today. This is a look inside our digital newsroom, guys, on this Friday, November 3rd. That was the official press conference with the Houston Astros, obviously post their World Series win. Guys, they have their official parade in Houston, their Astros winning official World Series parade this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So we should look for that somewhere on the stream. It won't be on YouTube per se, but it's maybe possibly on our Facebook if we can grab that live. But just saying hey to you guys and checking in. Let us know. Any of you guys fans or anybody have any specific thing they want to say about the Houston Astros, do it right here and let us know your comments. We don't have a ton of stuff coming in today, but we're going to keep it flowing, keep it relevant. So we're going to just stay up for the stream today. I'm still on cloud nine with meeting singer Maya this morning, which was super fun. So I'm kind of recalling that. And it's been a fun Friday here. It's good. So you can kind of see what's going on behind me. We got our digital desk over by the assignment desk. So a little look into what we do here. And I'm still eating my candy and kombucha and just hanging out. Okay, we're going to go see what's coming next on these couple of feeds. Our reporters are out on various stories. Nothing live really coming in from them that we were able to grab. Yeah, take a look at the Capitol Dome, guys, and then we'll be back with whatever else comes in live.
But I think today is going to be super special for, you know, everyone who's being able to be out here to celebrate, but also people who aren't. The response from the city and from the fans has been overwhelming. Last night we showed up, we got here, and there was like hundreds of people just here cheering us on, and that was awesome. My whole street that I live on was decorated, the whole street with like blue and orange streamers and signs, and it's been cool to see the city react the way they have.
Has it set in yet that World Series champions, like what that really?
No, I was talking to JV the other night after we won, and he was like, you know, really taking these moments, and I was like, no, I am. He's like, no, you're not. Like, not saying it in a bad way, he's just like, you know, because JV's, you know, this is his third time here, and you know, he's been in the league 13 years, and you saw how much it meant to Beltran and a lot of those other guys that, you know, this is my third season, and I'm a World Series champion, and I've been in the playoffs twice. I think it's, you know, hard to really kind of take it all in and appreciate it to its fullness, but I'm sure over time I definitely will.
The celebration was your huge hit.
Yeah.
You know, your huge grounder to get in a run. I do imagine, though, there's going to be a party that will always remember you being able to get a run in the World Series, especially, you know, an AL pitcher in an NL situation.
Yeah, you know, when I was walking up to the plate, I remember back to the previous night when we had those two guys on and we were unable to get them home, and how it kind of came back to bite us because we lost 3-1 with a pretty good opportunity there. So my only focus was trying to get the run in. I'll forever think about the ball I just missed, that foul back. But I was really happy to be able to get it in. I think lost in it all is how tough hitting off Darvish is and how good that guy really is. I mean, he just had 2 bad games. But we were just hot, and you know, we were seeing him well. It's a guy we're comfortable with because we've seen him so much playing against Texas. So being able to just put the bat on the ball was a huge step, and obviously Mac made a good read, and then Springer comes up with a huge home run to, you know, really kind of. It was only the second inning, but it kind of felt like the game was out of reach at that point.
Through the years, you've watched so many victory parades on TV, and kind of envision yourself in that moment. You're about to do the same thing. How wild is this?
No, the whole experience is wild. Yeah, really for me, we knew how much the city wanted this and how excited they were going to be. But I think landing from the time we've landed yesterday, the overwhelming excitement of everyone is just really kind of coming through, which I think is the coolest part. So I heard there's going to be over 700,000 people there, possibly. So it's just going to be awesome to see everybody out. We're kind of seeing the videos and stuff now of people the night of we won, and there's a really emotional picture of a couple watching the game kind of in their home on coolers. So I think this game meant a lot more than just, you know, your average World Series win.
I was going to ask you what it's been a day and a half now. What has been the coolest thing to happen to you, or that you've heard from since you've been a World Series champ?
No, I mean, one of the coolest things was showing up yesterday home, and there was, like I said, there was hundreds of people here. They were cheering for us. They were running after our cars and just super excited. And then I said my street, the whole street literally is filled with champagne balloons and signs and people carving out like 43 pumpkins and all type of stuff. So just seeing the support and how exciting people are, because it means a lot to us as players. But I think the city has waited so long and they've had to endure so much heartbreak along the way, so many opportunities of really close times of winning to be able to bring the first championship to Houston is going to be forever special.
What are you going to do in your off time until next season?
I'm going to watch TV with my dogs a lot. Everyone keeps asking me, like, "Are you going to go on a trip or whatever?" And I'm like, "Look, man, I'm probably going to be in the house a lot." So I think just relax, and we have about a month or so to kind of celebrate and take everything in. But it's too early. But people on this team are still motivated, dedicated athletes to continue to achieve and grind and want more. So I'm sure that everyone will take this in, and but after about a month or so, it becomes about next year and what you can do to prepare to continue moving forward.
The Major League team was fairly bad during your...
Sorry?
The Major League team was pretty bad during your early years in the organization. Did you ever wonder, what have I got myself into by getting drafted here?
Well, I didn't have much to say on who I got drafted by. But I was, funny story is on draft night, it was the first year with the new rules. And I was expected to go much higher than I was eventually picked. At the time, I was really upset. But I think looking back on it, I was blessed with the best opportunity that could have been offered to me, just from the way that the organization kind of believed in me from the start, and the way and their vision they had in me. We knew, and I think Sports Illustrated came out with the cover in 2014, but we knew those years were going to be tough. There was no kind of hiding behind it. The organization was very upfront with it. Jeff came out and said, "Hey, it's going to be tough for a while, but we have a long-term plan, and we have to kind of stick with our guns, and eventually, it's going to come to fruition." And the organization got a lot of flack for it. People were a lot of bad things and said a lot of bad things about the way that the Astros were kind of doing things. But now it's not even redemption or revenge. It's just it kind of vindicates what their ideas were all the time. So to be part of this organization has been nothing but amazing experience for me.
The average fan, sees you guys on TV, even us reporters, we have no idea the pressure you guys have at the pitch now in this era. You're a young man, and you're in the World Series, and you have the responsibility and the hopes and the dreams of the city of your team. How do you shut down all that noise and just to concentrate on your catch and the ball?
Well, when you put it like that, it sounds a lot worse than what I was thinking. I knew coming into the game, the guys were really prepared to play well that game. Like I said, Yu is an extremely talented pitcher, but we felt comfortable facing him just because we had seen him so many times, and we felt very confident. We felt like we had played well the whole series, and I just was trying to do my job for as long as I could. And I hit some guys here and there, but overall, I made some big pitches when I needed to, and the guys that came in after me made big pitches when they needed to, and World Series champs.
Lance, it was interesting hearing Jeff talk about the window for this team. And
right.
In 2012, you and Correa joined the organization both out of high school, and maybe a little bit ahead of schedule as a group. Is there any point of this or any part of the process where you thought you guys are advancing a little bit ahead of schedule here?
Talking about when we come to the minor leagues?
The entire team.
Oh, obviously in 2015, I think that was a little bit, advanced. The team started off the year that an unbelievable start, and then I got called up, and Correa and other guys like Velasquez and those people got called up. So I think 2015 I got drafted in 2012, and my first full season was 2013. So 2+ years into my development out of high school, I kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit, and was just glad for the opportunity. So I think it's hats off to the organization and the scouting department and what they were able to do. It's also hats off to a lot of guys here. We had guys here that turned into Cy Youngs and hopeful MVPs, Jose Altuve, and guys like George who came up and were playing ahead of schedule, and how good they were playing, and how well they were doing. So it wasn't just the prospects that were coming up or the plan that was advancing. I think it was just the players that stepped up along the way and really were, have been playing amazing baseball ever since.
Lance, how would you feel about an invitation to the White House?
It's one of those things that it's talked about a lot now, right, in our society, and there's obviously a lot of things that this country is going through and things that people need to deal with. But it's the White House, and it's hard to say you're not going to go, see the most historic building in our country, and one of the landmarks that really make up the country. And in the media, there's so much negativity, and rightfully so. I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, and a lot of things that we need to do as a country moving forward. But at the same time, the White House stands for a lot, and I would be crazy not to want to go and see that firsthand.
Hey, George, did you expect this World Series that you had? I mean, of course you have confidence in yourself, man, but what you did was historic. Did that surprise yourself?
Yeah, I don't ever think a player, or at least from the perspective that I have, that you're going to go out and do something like that. I just the only thing that I try to do is just help the team any way I can. Whether that's a walk, a base hit, steal a base. So do anything I can, and for me to go out and do something like that, is obviously great. But for me, it's honestly all about the team. I could care less about the individual stuff.
Just a quick personal curiosity note, man. This was ages ago, but in I think it was in the championship series, that catch that Marvin was about to get, and you jumped in front of him, and he looked at you. Did he cut you out?
No, he asked me if he should even be out here playing. And I said, I'm sorry. That's just a time where it just shows you how loud it is. And he was calling for it. I obviously didn't hear him. We also do a silent communication, which is you wave your arms, you flap your leg out. Obviously didn't see him. Then I jumped over him. Didn't know he was there. And he offered me his glove. He said he should just go back in the clubhouse and sit down. I said, I'm sorry, I love you, but he didn't believe me.
Hey, real quickly, any questions for Lance? Lance, you're good. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. I figured he's not said so. See you, buddy.
Bye, Lance.
George, you predated the Crane regime. Did either Jim or Jeff ever come to you early in your career to say, look, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently, it may take a while?
No, I think I was obviously the last draft before them, but they've always treated me as their own. I've kind of always fit the mold, I guess. I've always been the mold. I've been here since Jeff and Jim first took over the team, and I haven't been treated any differently. There wasn't anything that was said to me, of their plan or their perspective. I've just been in the organization and have gone through the process of their plan.
Jeff just said basically, sorry, that when you got here, that was sort of the first to the big league team. He thought that was the first indication that he thought that things weren't going to go according to plan. Just the fact that you came here and did well was that the team was on a right track. Did you ever get that sense that getting here was that big a deal in terms of the long-term plan?
I don't know. I've kind of just been here and played and have had to go through some tough times. Obviously some down years, and me being here, I think was the first wave of guys like Correa, McCullers. That those are the guys that have really been in the organization for a long time, and I was able to come up and I struggled at first and then was able to find my way. But I think that opened the door to show, other guys in our organization, Correa, Lance, Preston Tucker, you're seeing a lot of homegrown guys throughout the draft play in the major leagues and have an impact on our team.
George, could you add your thoughts about what Lance was discussing, potentially going to the White House? Yeah, about that.
I mean, it's exactly like he said. That's the most historic place in our country. It stands for a lot. It means a lot to a lot of people. I've been there. My grandfather worked in Washington for years. If the team goes, I'm going. I'm not gonna say no. I understand the impact of it. I understand the stuff that's been happening in our country, and yes, that there is things that have to change, but there's always things that have to change. There isn't anything that's ever going to be perfect. But if the team goes, I'll go.
How about Disney? You're going to go to Disney World? In fact, going not that visual goals. You're the MVP of the World Series. What does that mean to you?
Honestly, I don't really think it's sunk in yet. What's up, dude? It's a crazy thing to think of that. As long as I live, you can't take that away from me. But the most important thing is you can't take that away from our team. This team will always be remembered as the 2017 World Series champions, and they can't take that away from any of us.
You talked a bit about the team rallying around and with Yuli. How did you guys approach that with him? Did you talk with him with the issues?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. But first and foremost, he's a great person. He's a great guy, and I don't think he meant to be offensive. I just don't see that in him. And he was down. He still is down. He's a great guy that made a mistake, and unfortunately, it got blown up. It got seen. I don't condone stuff like that. He doesn't, and he made a mistake. But he's my teammate, and I love that guy to death. And I will always have his back, and I will always be there to support him. And everybody was there to support him. He went through a tough time. I'm sure he still is. Stuff like that doesn't go away. But he went through a rough 3-4 days, but the team supports him and will always continue that.
George, if you had to pick out the most memorable thing that's happened to you, or that you've seen or noticed since winning the championship the other night, what would that be? Either with you or you noticed.
I got a chance to watch a few videos of the fans who were here for the watch party, and to see that amount of people in a stadium for a road game, that means a lot to me as a player. It means a lot to our team. It means a lot to the whole organization, and to bring the city something that I believe has that they desperately need, they desperately wanted, and so desperately deserved, is one of the best feelings in the world.
Your dad gave a beautiful interview to our Randy McElroy about how proud he is of you, what an inspiration you are, not only to him, but your family. Can you talk a little bit about your dad? It's been watched thousands of times on our website, just beautiful, about parenting you through the years.
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate to have two great parents who have basically given up their life to provide me with every opportunity they could to get me from A to B, figure out how to help me with schoolwork, how to help me, get through life, and to be able to give back to them and to take them around with me means more to me than they know. And to see the joy on my mom and dad's face, to see how excited they are, and most importantly, to see how proud they are of me, makes me. I don't really know how to describe it. I have the best mom and dad anybody could ever ask for, and all they want is for their son to go have fun and kind of live out his dream, and to be able to give back a sliver of what they gave me is incredible.
George,
Last one for George, guys. Okay.
Whenever you're hitting well, you typically say things like, I'm not being so big, I'm slowing the moment down. To get away from some kind of cliches like that, please tell me, what is the mechanical adjustment you made to get out of that slump and hit so well in the World Series? Whether it's how you saw the ball better, whether it's something in your swing. You had to have made some adjustment because it was so dramatic.
Yeah, everyone always thinks that when you're going one way and then you go the other way, you did something drastic. And I can promise you, I literally didn't do anything drastic. It was a conversation that I had with Carlos Beltran in the locker room, and he went out and told me and said, enjoy it, have fun, be who you are, and just kind of enjoy the moment. And I think as a player, you obviously know when you're not succeeding, and you tend to press and you want to succeed so bad it causes you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And that, whether that's swinging at a pitch early or swinging at something that I don't normally swing at. And I just told myself, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back here. I don't know if this is the last time I'm ever going to play in a World Series. So I might as well go out and do what's gotten me to this point and just honestly try to have as much fun as I can and slow the game down, because it's hard to hit, and it's even harder to hit when you as a hitter starts complicating it. And I wanted to go out and simplify it as much as I can and just have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you jealous that George gets to go to Disney World?
Huh?
You jealous that George gets to go to Disney World? You know, I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys, any questions for Chris? Chris, what are you thinking right now, Harry? What's going on inside you? 24 hours later.
I mean, driving through the city, seeing a bunch of orange everywhere is pretty special, It took me about a half an hour to get here through downtown, and that's pretty special to see, all the people that, are going to have a lot of fun out there today.
Chris, with everything, everyone has their own story, but you obviously have a very unique story and everything you've been through. Is it on some level still hard and impossible to believe that it's all worked out and you're a world champion with this team in this city? I mean, it's tough to believe. I mean, I always imagine, something like this happening, but, sometimes I feel like imagination can only take you so far. You got to put in the work to get results and get there. And, for it to really happen is, unbelievable. And it's not sinking in. It's not, I know it's gonna, though. I feel like it's going to, especially being out there, for this parade. This is what I'm super excited about, for, to see the city of Houston, have some fun with it. Do you ever think about what if you, a lot of times your life can just go, you take one step, you make one decision, and you're this way, not that way on a stage with world champions. Yeah, things can change, in the flash of an eye, and, very thankful for, the opportunity I've been given to be here and to play on this great team, and, 2007 World Series champs, never forget that.
Can you talk about the importance of having somebody like Carlos Beltran around for advice and as a sage?
Super important. I think, I've had some rough times this year, and Carlos has been there just to, talk me through some things, and for me to learn from him, from his experience, because he's played this game for a long time, and, his resume speaks for itself. And, me as a player, knowing that, is definitely, very humbling, and being able to learn from him is awesome.
We talked a little bit after Game 5, that crazy Game 5, about the bullpen, but we cannot overlook just how strange it was, that the way that things worked out for relief pitching in this series on both sides. But what was it like to see the Astros bullpen struggle as much as?
You got to struggle to have success at times. You know what I'm saying? And you learn from the struggles, and you get better from them. And when it came down to the most important time is when we got it done. And I feel like
everything that led up to that, helped us in Game 7.
Dallas, I guess, no panic. You said it on the LCS celebration, and you proved it on the World Series. How you feel being a world champion, and what does this victory, in your opinion, means for the city?
Well, I don't have a voice, so that just tells you where I'm at. It means the world to us, and for the city to have our backs through everything, not just Harvey this year, but the growing pains of getting better. Bregman, it's hot outside. Why are you wearing a jacket?
Sorry, I was taking selfies with the best fans in baseball. In traffic.
But it does. It means the world. So we're going to enjoy today and continue to enjoy each and every day this off season because we work so hard for it. And I know that the city of Houston has been wanting this for a very long time, so they're going to celebrate with us.
You were in the bullpen at the end of the 7th, ready for what? What would you have done?
I was just trying to help CB out because all the fans trying to get in the bullpen, trying to get Devo. He can't hold his own back there, so. No, I was ready for everything, and that's one of the things in a Game 7 that you don't talk about. Everybody's just ready to pitch, and there's no tomorrow. So everybody was available and ready to go.
Dallas, how much admiration do you have for this organization to not only get #1 picks like Correa and build around them, but also get guys like Devo and Charlie Morton and Brad Peacock and see the potential in those guys and maximize that potential to this effect?
Yeah, that's one of the cool things is to see where we were, where we started from, and then really looking back and zeroing in on trades that got key components over here, and we traded Brett Myers, who was a quality major leaguer, but in return we got Devo, and nobody really knew at the time how good he was going to be, but now we're all talking about him. So it's really fun and really cool to see some of the trades that worked out, some of the picks that worked out, and honestly, when you really think about it, there was a lot more picks, a lot more trades that worked out than didn't. And if there was a few more trades that didn't work out, we wouldn't be sitting here, but they did. And so we have to give the front office credit for doing their homework, and with the age of analytics and everything associated with what we do, it's pretty incredible to see how many times we have hit the bullseye, and now we're here.
Howard, can you talk about just how much fun you're having? Obviously, it was a lot of work for the season, but get to this point. What's that like?
So much fun. When the final out was made and you saw the smile on everybody's face on our team, it just made everything worth it. Every single rep in the gym, every single swing that we took in the cage or pitch that they threw in the bullpen, it's unbelievable, and unbelievable experience. It's a dream come true for all of us. And we've said that so many times, but we're still dreaming. Like this is part of what you envision as a little kid when you come back. You come back to the city. And, the city, the people here have given us a hero's welcome, which is unbelievable, and it's special for all of us.
Alex, your coaches, your family, everyone that you grew up with said that you had the best work ethic. For the people of New Mexico who are watching this, what do you want to tell them?
Oh, just thank you so much for all the support since day one, and if you work hard and you really want to do something, you can accomplish it, and it's pretty special. I saw a few things from New Mexico, a few kids from back there do an interview, and it's good to see that they feel that they could be world champions because they can.
Your dad told me that you thought that your grandfather was watching over you, that he had to see you now.
Yeah, for sure. He baseball guy. He signed Dick Allen to the largest contract in history back in the day, and helped Ted Williams become the manager of the Senators. And he loved the game. He loved watching me play, and I think he was very excited to be there.
Hey guys, any more for Devo? Let him go. I'm asking others, what are you going to do in the off season?
Take some time off, enjoy it, and then get back on the grind.
Nice hat.
Thank you. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Where'd you get that?
You're lucky.
Oh, that's when Devo says take time off, he'll be working out tomorrow.
It's this question nowadays, the second you win, so you're going to go to the White House, but I know you have, on social media been outspoken at times. A lot of the guys have said, if the team goes, we're going. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts about going to the White House to celebrate a world championship?
How do I feel about it? I don't know. I think I'm gonna do whatever Carlos Beltran and Carlos Correa do.
Dallas, could you get your thoughts about the potential visit to the White House?
I mean, I'm gonna go. That's about it. Have some fun.
As a fan of the game, do you have an opinion on the first pitch on Vince Scully in the second game?
Do I have an opinion about it? I mean, I thought it was really cool. I thought it took too long.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet too. Same exact thing as Dallas, actually.
So, the presentation, the thought into it was really cool, and only in a place like LA could that happen. So, I think anybody else, any other ballpark, any other venue, it would have taken about 10 minutes less.
Quick question for the both of you guys. Now that you have had this taste of the World Series title, enjoy today, obviously. This is one of those things that I know Alex and Chris on Thursday like expect more of these. Is this something that makes you hungry for getting back here again?
For sure. Once you taste this success, you want to do it every year, and I mean, it's not easy to do what we did. It's not easy at all, but we are very young, and hopefully we'll bring a lot more of these to Houston.
Alex, how much sleep have you gotten since Game 7?
Gotten probably like 14 hours. Yeah. On the plane, on the floor, in the shower.
Dallas, could you talk about both of you guys talk about what it means to be world champions?
Didn't you already ask me this in LA?
No, not here.
I know you asked me this.
Not here.
I mean, it means we're world champions, and that we don't take that lightly, because there's no better team than us in 2017. We'll try to continue that on here next year, but at this point in time, we're going to enjoy it, and here we're going to celebrate with the fans in the city of Houston for all off season.
What's the coolest thing that's happened so far to you? Since it happened, or who have you heard from that surprised you? Congratulate.
Well, one of the first ones was JJ. So, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for us. Just being in the city, seeing what he's done for the city, seeing what he's gone through. There's nobody I'd rather hear from. So that's number one on my list, and it should be for a lot of guys.
Alex, could you go on thoughts about being world champions, how it hits you, what it means to you?
Yeah, it's so special. I mean, it means the world to me. It means everything. It means everything to this team, and we're gonna enjoy it for a long time here in Houston.
Alex, it really seemed that you were more of yourself in this World Series than you even usually are. That although it's only been 2 years, maybe a year and a half that you've been in the big leagues, it was, I don't know, I just seen that you embraced it and were so darn comfortable being outward like that. Do you think that it took like that kind of a stage for whatever reason to make you feel so comfortable being that way?
No, not really. I feel like I was comfortable the whole year, but just a super fun time. Like the most fun I've had playing the game of baseball with the best teammates, best coaching staff in the world, and I don't know, I was just having a blast. Every single pitch was locked in at every single pitch, just like every one of these guys. We were living and dying on every pitch, and every ball that we had when we were at the plate, it was a swing one way. Every strike, it was a swing the other. Every time we got out, it was, oh no. Every time we got on base, it was, let's go. So it was just crazy. It was crazy.
The stakes of everything. It brought out a lot. I don't know.
It was fun. It was a blast.
Have you seen the clip of you clutching the dugout rail and howling at the boot or howling at the...
Oh, no, I've never seen it.
What were you saying, or what were you...
Oh, I was just pumped up. I was fired up. We just won the ALDS. Just beat Chris Sale and Craig Kimbrell, two superstars, possible Hall of Famers.
Can you talk about just the fact
when you were up at bat, how did you handle your nerves when you were getting up there and with all those people and you're so young?
Well, I think one of the things that's cool about the playoffs is that you get to face the same pitcher so many times, so you start to feel more comfortable against different guys, and honestly, just trusting in the preparation put in, just believing in yourself, and we've played, I think it was game like 210 counting spring training, so you feel pretty at home in the box. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, you guys beat some of the most storied franchises in baseball to get to this point, to win the World Series. I don't know if that makes it any more special, but can you talk about that? Yankees.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think anybody's ever gone through New York and Boston. We did that, and then I finished it off in LA. It was crazy. Probably the three most storied franchises in the game, and to go through the three biggest cities and just, yeah, did it.
Someone on MLB Network said that this was the Astros' success is an example of the fact that logical thinking wins out. Do you think this was a logical progression by this team toward the goal, or was there something more involved?
I don't know. I think our front office did a hell of a job with their off-season additions that they added. This guy was the biggest steal of the last off-season. I mean, maybe he has the best stuff in baseball. And then you got McCann, Beltran, Reddick, and then you signed Verlander. I mean, it's pretty special for us young guys to have the opportunity to play with guys like that.
And the best restaurant too. How do you feel? World champion, your son here, you're sharing it with him. How do you feel?
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't really know what's going on, but he knows. He knows something good happened. He knows that he knows the Astros won, and that we're going home to Florida soon. But he's happy, and as you can see.
You obviously have confidence in yourself as a pitcher, as a professional, as a father, but were you surprised the stuff that you brought to that game, to the moment of the game, and what it meant to the franchise?
No, I wasn't surprised. It's kind of like a test, like you study for a test in school, and you're ready, but nobody else does, that kind of thing. And I think the ball coming out of my hand, it didn't surprise me. Because I had good stuff all year. I've had good stuff my whole career. It was kind of, I wasn't throwing as hard, but I've always been able to spin the ball. I've been able to move the ball. So stuff-wise, it's been there. I think the problem has been execution. It's been consistency. It's been health.
Is this parade today going to be is this the moment where you take it all in, or has it been a process since the win?
No, because I mean, while things are happening, you're an observer, and then you have a chance to reflect on what happened. And it still hasn't sunk in yet that we won the whole thing. I mean, obviously, I know we did, but the ramifications and that reality hasn't really set in.
Charlie, a lot of guys, I mean, they'll play the game their entire career. Some of them never make the playoffs. Some get to the World Series, they lose. You had been close, but what's it like as a veteran who's been through a lot to finally, you could say this in your life, hey, I am a World Series champion, and you were just a role player. I mean, you had a huge contributing role in this win.
It's exciting for me. It's because we play the game for different reasons. We play the game because we love it. We play the game because it's something that we worked our whole lives for. We become professionals. And obviously we have to, I have a family, I have to provide for my family. But you also do it because you like the challenge of it. You like overcoming adversity. You enjoy doing those things with your teammates. And this is the epitome of that. I mean, this is the best that we could have done this year.
Sure. Yeah, the last question, we gotta go.
How much of your success on the 7th game was just because of the fact of adjusting to the umpire's strike zone?
I never think about an umpire strike zone, ever. I think that some umpires, they have zones, like hot and cold zones. Sometimes they'll give you a pitch a little bit off the plate. Sometimes they'll miss pitches that are on the plate. But I don't think about that at all. I'm thinking about the hitter. I know that the umpire is back there doing the best job that he can, and so I don't even give it a thought. I'm competing against the hitter. I've never done that.
All right, guys, we gotta run.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. It's gonna be it.
Thanks, Charlie.
One second. Yeah.
Hey guys, if you are on with us in our digital newsroom here, you're looking at what I think is now wrapping up. There it is, the Houston Astros press conference. So we're going to go over to this shot. Did you guys hear about this story? This is actually a live look inside the courtroom of the first appearance in court for the accused Walmart shooter in Colorado. Guys, he opened up fire on his employees, or fellow employees rather, on Wednesday. And 47-year-old man in Thornton, Colorado. And this is a look inside his courtroom right now. There he is. And so we'll kind of stay with this to see what becomes of this. Apparently, according to some of his other employees and colleagues, he didn't seem to be disgruntled. They had no idea that he could have done this. And he fatally shot 3 people on Wednesday. And here he is in court. So a live look inside this for the next few moments, as long as we have the stream. And thanks for joining us today on the stream, guys.
guidelines, the information that we have from the firm, and we will do the training. We will improve the accountability pieces and the technology pieces. And if we found somebody manipulated things in a way that they should not have done it for a purpose that was inappropriate, we will take appropriate disciplinary action.
Maxwell, what do you say to parents who say this is an issue of transparency, and why is it that an audit like this has to spotlight this issue? That apparently there were these problems and flaws in grade policies and reporting and training all along. So how do you restore a parent's faith in the grades that their child is getting in light of this report?
So I think there's two pieces of that. First of all, the reason that they go on is that people don't report them. And I think that there's a mention of this in the report. Again, we haven't had it long. We haven't been able to really study it. But people seem to have a tendency here, some people at least seem to have a tendency here to go to the media or go to people outside of the school district instead of working within the channels that are here to improve our district. That's part one. Part two, when it comes to reassuring parents, we don't see a problem with instruction in most cases. Again, we have kids who go to some of the finest colleges and institutions across the country. This is about checking boxes, sloppy record keeping, not teaching and learning. We have great teachers. We have smart kids. We have people that are working hard to give children second and third chances to make sure that they're able to graduate. And for people who want to pull that down and undermine it and make it look like it's something way beyond what it is, that's unfortunate.
What happens to the students who may have been graduated outside state standards? What happens to those kids at this point, these young adults who are now out?
So if there's a student who's graduated and they're having trouble, getting to the next place, admitted to the community college or whatever those things are, we've set up a website. I think it's gradsupport@pgcbs.org. They can contact us, and we will have folks work with them to figure out what their situation is, what kinds of things we can do to support them or have other people support them.
Are there any questions for Dr. Sabine Eubanks, the board chair?
Yes, Dr. Eubanks, you said the board released a statement with 10 to 13 board members signed on it. Obviously, a board member at Burroughs is standing behind us, not up there with you all. The two other board members who are missing here. And you're talking about unity and working together as one. It seems that this is a split board here. Why is that?
I can only speak to the motivation of the folks, of the vast majority of the board who have been working together to be unified in a purpose to improve the outcomes of students, and who believe in working hard to hold the system accountable in order to make that happen. So you'd have to ask other folks about their own. I'm not going to try to guess at other people's what drives and motivates them to divide themselves from the vast majority of the board. But I will say we continue to do a proper, engaged, intellectually stimulating, completely legal and open and democratic process on this board. Hold on, okay, I got you.
Whether it's considered proper or not, the audit is finding that what Mr. Burroughs and other members on the board alleged had base and was happening within the system.
So let me make clear. The audit found absolutely that there were significant flaws in our system that must be addressed. And that was part of what was alleged. But instead of alleging we have a problem, they alleged our hair's on fire and there's systemic fraud and corruption throughout the system. That brought it straight to the governor, which brought it to a whole different level that puts us in a place where it's harder for us to be able to address the core fundamental problem that, yes, indeed, we have problems that need to be corrected. Our own internal audit process began to discover that process, and I think would have continued to do that. But I'll push again that now that we have gone this far in the process, we know a lot about what's happening in our own school system. We want to, and we invite the governor and others to examine what's going on with other school systems as well, because we don't know where we stand relative. This is an unprecedented audit of Prince George's County Public Schools, and it has found some deep problems. We acknowledge those problems completely, and we're not running away from those problems and those shortcomings. There's no attempt to do that whatsoever. We want to know if there's school districts out there who don't have these problems. I want to know who they are so I can learn from them. If there are others who have these problems, I want to work with them so we can solve these problems together. That's what we want to do.
Dr. Eubanks, what does it matter what brought the curtain to be open? I mean, you're complaining about, excuse me, sir.
Please do.
Your argument is that it should have stayed internally, but the frustration that we all have heard from educators in this school district is that nothing was being done when they reported it, so they took a different route. What difference does it make why the curtain was pulled back if there are problems in this school district that have been uncovered and devalued the diplomas of students?
I don't have any significant evidence that people came to us through proper channels and they weren't addressed. That's another story. There's a big part of this that doesn't make a difference. We have significant problems with making sure, and I'll go back to what Dr. Maxwell said. We fail our students when we graduate them without making sure that they've met all their standards. But to be clear, we fail our students when we don't graduate them. So going back to 75% graduation rates, which we had several years ago, is not a solution. We need to work hard to be sure that we're graduating 90% of our students like we should be, and that every one of those students meets their requirements. We embrace that challenge. We accept it. We're not trying to hide behind the mistakes that were made.
If you look at the report, in the year 2016, it has something like 3.6%.
Mm-hmm.
I understand this is a sample of the sample, right? I'm not extrapolating. There's a hard number here. So 3.6% of those that they looked at shouldn't have graduated. And the next year it jumps to 6%, 2016 to 2017. It jumps. Almost doubles. What do you suppose happened? What was the motivation for that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know at this point because again, we like everyone else, we've seen and read the executive summary. We have our lawyers and our team who are already going through page by page of this to get more detail, and we hope to explore that and have answers for that. But I can't say that we have an answer for that right now. As board chair here, I stand behind the system and all people in the system who are working to improve it. We have, I stand behind the fact, I'm satisfied with the conclusion that the CEO and his team did not try to fraudulently manipulate themselves to make themselves look good for grades. I stand behind that conclusion. In terms of the ability for this system to monitor its programs and procedures and make sure that our grading is done properly and that our graduations are done completely and accurately, we're going to continue that investigation.
Last question. Could you address the previous question?
Sure.
The CEO, which is simply, if it's not systemic, what could it possibly be? What could possibly motivate people to change transcripts afterwards to the point where the sample size suggests nearly 25% of records aren't even reviewable? What are your thoughts? What could possibly motivate people to make this change?
So what the auditors said clearly is they did not look for intent, and so we have to look and find that. I would number one concur with the fact that there are a myriad of legitimate reasons that a lot of these processes happen. And what the auditor said is they believe that that people misunderstood the process. I would point out the fact that we implemented the same new grading policy that other districts have used for years, and we implemented the same programs to give additional academic supports that other programs have used for years. We're very early on in this implementation process, and it may be clear that we did not implement particularly well. But they're good ideas, we believe, and we're going to support them. Yes.
You just said they didn't look for intent, and the school CEO and yourself have said it clearly proved there was no intent. If it didn't look for intent, how can you say
It looked for whether or not there was evidence of direction, and direction is not intent. There was not evidence of direction from the CEO or his staff or his leadership or IDs or principals or anybody else to explicitly change grades in order to boost our graduation rates. They did look for that. That's factual. That's not intent. They looked for that and they didn't find anything. Thank you. Thank you.
Why did you do your own audit?
We would have if we'd had the opportunity to do so, but we weren't given that option. Thank you.
Thank you. You always have the option?
Thank you, everyone.
We did and we will.
We'd love to work together.
All right, guys. Looks like that press conference is just wrapping up, guys, as is the aerial footage of the Astros. So they're getting ready for their victory parade about 4 o'clock Eastern time, I think, and we won't have it here on the stream, but it's going to be going on down in Houston. You saw all those people, tons of people lining the streets getting ready for that. The press conference that you just saw is more of a local story. Our reporter, Anjali Hemphill, is on that story today. It has to do with the fixing of grades for graduation rates for Prince George's County Public Schools, and they were addressing that there. But guys, with very limited live things coming in for you guys today, and not a lot of video to show you, I think we are going to say goodbye for this Friday and bring you more stuff next Monday on at 11:30. Don't forget to fall back your clocks on this weekend. So Saturday night, I believe at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., you fall it back and you'll have an extra hour of sleep. And then sunset will be at 5:03 on Sunday. So really early, a lot more darkness. I'm not sure I'm good with darkness at the expense, or rather less sleep at the expense of sunlight. But okay, it looks like we have this footage of the parade coming back. So we'll leave you with this shot, guys, and we'll roll out of this stream. But we'll see you Monday. So don't forget to join us as usual, 11:30, and have a look at these people gathering up for the parade. Looks like they're all parking their stuff and getting ready to get a spot on the street. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you Monday.